You are making the world a better place by listening to the Joy of Living podcast. This is your guide to achieving a more purposeful, powerful, and positive life. Join Barry Shore in unlocking the best version of you and becoming happier, healthier, and wealthier. And now, here's your ambassador of joy, Barry Shore.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking, so always looking for and finding the good. You found good in abundance because you tuned in consciously and conscientiously to the Joy of Living with your humble host, Barry Shore, known as the Ambassador of Joy. Notice I didn't say the Ambassador of Joy. The Ambassador of Joy. And you tuned into this show for one reason and one reason only. It's the best reason in the whole world, because you care the most in the entire world about you. Y-O-U. And that's great, by the way, because when you become the best you make the world a better place. You build more bridges and create more harmony, build more joy, happiness, peace, and love in the world. And you're going to have a lot of fun today because, as you know, when I mentioned this, we talk about the three fundamentals of life on this show. And these three fundamentals, when you utilize them properly, will make you happier, healthier, and wealthier. And you're going to find all that today because I am just so honored and humbled and privileged to bring back a perennial guest, actually a more than perennial. Number of times, our dear friend Peter Nolan on the economy will be speaking with us in just a few minutes. He's up at the ranch at the moment, and he'll be coming in over this great system called the internet, right? So in the internet, I just want to urge everybody to understand the three fundamentals of life are quite simple. Number one, your life has purpose. And when you lead a purpose-driven life, number two happens. In this case, good number two, you go MAD. Now, MAD is a wonderful acronym that stands for make a difference. Lead a purpose-driven life, you make a difference in the world. And the third is to uncover the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. Simple example, www, like right now, over the internet. Ask anybody what it stands for. They'll tell us to do with the internet. And factually speaking, they're correct. In our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, www stands for what a wonderful world. And what is a word, right? WATA. And of course, a tip of the hat and a big thank you to Satchmo, Lily Armstrong, for enabling the song, What a Wonderful World, to go viral. Not just touch tens of millions or hundreds of millions, but billions of people around the planet. When you hear the opening bars of what a wonderful world, what do you do right away? You can't help it. You smile. Now, smile is one of the most important words you could ever internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life, because smile is an acronym that stands for seeing miracles in life every day. That's right, seeing miracles in life every day. Now, I got to tell you, I'm privileged to speak with people by the millions every week, actually, through the internet and in person. Recently, I spoke with a group of 1,172 people in person, and I'm talking the story about Barry Shore. I'm talking about miracles, and people raise their hand and say, hey, Barry Shore, I've been up for hours. I haven't seen any miracles. And I asked them, are you here? Can you hear? Can you stand still? I can't do that. Can you walk? I can barely do that. Do you have water to drink? Do you have food to eat? A place to eat? Your family, your friends? Every single one of those is a miracle. A miracle. And what's the simple proof? 1 million people didn't get out of bed this morning. You know why? They died. By definition, if you're watching or you're listening, you didn't. Therefore, you have an obligation to live life to the full, to live exuberantly. Now, let me tell you a quick story before we bring on Peter. It's about me. Imagine if you can. I'm standing up in the morning, completely healthy and hearty, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. And that evening, I'm in the hospital, totally, completely paralyzed from my neck down. It's called being a quadriplegic. And it was not from an automobile accident. It wasn't a spinal injury. It was a rare disease, which I never heard of the day before, take over my body and cause me to be paralyzed. I could only communicate by blinking my eyes. I was 144 days in the hospital. I was on the hospital bed in my own home for 2 years. I couldn't move. I was in a wheelchair for 4 years. I had braces on both my legs, my hips to my ankles. That was progress. Thank God today I'm able to be vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking wand. So I'm a triped, not a biped. Can't walk up a stair by myself. Can't walk up a curb by myself. I have help 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. However, you hear my voice. Positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, all because of one word. Smile. seeing miracles in life every day. Now, I got to tell you a cute story, though. My 8-year-old niece comes over to me a few weeks ago and she says, Uncle Barry, can we spell smile? S-M-I-E-L. I asked her, how come? Because it sounds the same. I told her, why not? And she said, because then it would stand for seeing miracles in everyday life. Out of the mouth of an 8-year-old. But what was she doing? She was creating the kind of world that she wants to live in. Now, CREATE is a fabulous acronym. It stands for causing, rethinking, enabling all to excel. That's right. We're talking about a slight shift in perspective. Now, I got to tell you something. I've been working with very high achieving professional people for more than 5 decades. And I tell you, when people come to me, most of the time they drop the F in shift and the other stuff happens. So you got to be very careful with your Fs. You want to shift your perspective just a little bit. And then what will happen? Then you can internalize, utilize, and leverage the 6 most important words you'll ever learn. And these are choice, not chance, determines your destiny. How you choose to respond in any given situation will determine your path in life and your trajectory. Now, before we bring on amazing dear friend Peter Nolan, I got to warn everybody that I do use a lot of 4-letter words. I even use the 4-letter FU word, and I do it for the shock value, and it's fun. Now, of course, the 4-letter words that we use, who live in the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, are love, life, hope, play, pray, free, gift, swim. And the 4-letter FU word is fun. Fun, huh? That's right. F-U, capital N, capital N. Now, some people right away say, hey, Barry, sure, fun's only spelled with 3 letters. Not in our world. The world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant is spelled F-U, capital N, capital N. So after the show, you have a twinkle in your eye, a smile on your face. From this stands to point your finger and tell your family and friends, F-U, everybody. But remember to add right away, capital N, capital N. And they say, where'd you get that? You got their attention. Now you can tell them the amazing insights that you have learned when you listen to wonderful Peter Nolan. So before we bring on Peter, I just want to urge everybody to use the 2 most powerful words in English language 3 times a day from now and the rest of your life. You do this, you will be happier, healthier, and wealthier. And these 2 words are thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank stands for to harmonize and nurture kindness. KIND is a wonderful acronym. It stands for keep inspiring noble deeds. I can't think of anyone that I want to share with you inspires noble deeds more than my dear friend, wonderful Peter Nolan. Peter, please say hello to 511,917 people around the world.
Hello. How are you, Barry? Good to see you.
Nice to be seen. I can tell you that. It's the greatest thing in life, right? To be alive. Peter knows it. Now, I have to preface, it's going to embarrass him a little bit, and he can't run away because he's just right there on the screen. If I started telling you all the things that Peter does and has accomplished, it would take the rest of the show. So I'm going to give you 3 data points. And these 3 data points are quite remarkable in and of themselves. Number 1, he is what we call a full-fledged Cornellian. That means that he, his wife, his siblings, his children, and his father all went to Cornell, going back many decades now. And he's dedicated to the school and making it the #1 school in the world when it comes to learning about hospitality and hotels and anything such to do with that. Number 2 is that he and his wonderful wife, Stephanie, are dedicated to enhancing and funding early childhood development programs. And there is nothing more beneficial for America and therefore the world to have educated people, because without that, we don't have a society. And the third thing that makes Peter my hero, I have 3 heroes in this world. He's one of them. He's married 34 plus years to the same woman, 3 children, lots of friends, and a good guy. So with that as an introduction, wonderful Peter, let's talk about Nolan on the economy, because Peter is not a Wall Street guy per se. He's a Main Street guy in reality, because he was a managing director of a great group called Leonard Green Partners, Leonard Green Partners, managing $75 billion. He's still involved with the company. Of course, he does his own family office investments, and he has businesses that are really part and parcel of the everyday economy. And therefore, sensitive to what's going on. So let's just jump right in, and I'm going to throw something to you, Peter, and then I want you to speak, not me, because they want to hear you. They don't want to hear me. We're going to talk about the 3 T's. We're going to talk about 4 babies, and we're going to talk about DOE. So let's start with the 3 T's. And I'll mention them to you, and then you can riff on any one of them. Trump, tariffs, Tesla. Take them in any order you want. Those are the 3 T's. So wax eloquent.
I hope no one spray paints my Tesla.
Wait a minute. You don't drive a gas guzzler? You were smart enough to use the allowance and get a car that's the head, the greatest vehicle in the world?
Yeah, no, I'm on my 3rd Tesla. So, I was a pretty early adopter. In California, where I live, there's quite an incentive, which I think is about to go away, where you can drive in the carpool lane with certain kinds of cars. So, but my understanding is that this may be the last year that they allow that you can't drive in the carpool lane solo anymore, even if you have a Tesla. But
so I want to unpack something, because this is a worldwide audience. So he's saying it as a matter of fact. Some people would have said, well, I got the Tesla because of a $7,500 tax rebate. If anybody lives in Southern California, or oftentimes Northern California, but certainly Southern California, you understand what he just said. Being able to drive in the carpool lane, that is worth a lot, because it's your time.
Right.
That's another T we'll talk about, maybe. So you're right. I didn't even think of that. It's great, because we moved. I used to live in Southern California for 45 years. And thank God we moved 3.5 years ago to Henderson, Nevada. So for us, traffic is almost non-existent.
Right. Right.
So go back to your Tesla, which you are not spray painting and not putting on fire, and advocating it as a good mobile.
No, they're great cars. They're amazing cars. Mine, the one I have, has full self-driving capability, it's really astounding. And that's, I think in the next several years, that's going to be the future, right? I think people will not have to drive their cars anymore if they don't want.
Right. It's the amazing thing will be, like you say, right now, you can put in and order, let's say, an Uber or other kind of app like that. But what you'll be doing in a few years, you're putting in your app. It might even be a Tesla app. You just have the car come to you. And
that's what Waymo, which I believe is owned by Google. I think they do that right now. So yeah. But getting back to your question, I think there's a lot of interesting things going on in Washington. Obviously, the market's reacting to the volatility as a result of change that's happened. It's so interesting, politicians. I remember when Barack Obama ran for president, his theme was change. It wasn't. You remember that, Barry?
Yes. Thank you. You just brought it up, right?
Right. It was hope and change.
Right. Well, hope was Bill Clinton.
Right.
And the man from Hope. And then Obama said, we can't do hope because we did that already. Let's do change.
So I think we're in the middle of a lot of change. And I do think the scrutiny of the federal budget and the scrutiny of where money is being spent is long overdue. And I just don't see how anyone fights that. I think that there's so many programs in the federal government that exist just because they exist, but don't necessarily benefit anyone particularly other than the employee. And I think that it's a necessary house cleaning that's going on, and it's chaotic, and for certain people, it's not pleasant. But a lot of us that look at how, we have, what is it, a $36 trillion
deficit,
basically deficit, and it has to be addressed. And this is the first time that I can think of where it's literally starting to be addressed, and hopefully good will come out of it.
So let's use these C words, the change, chaotic, etc. So Mr. Trump was elected, in my humble opinion, primarily because he promised to bring about change. I think he even mentioned that it would be chaotic, to use your other term. And people recognize that he only has 4 years, or probably maybe only 2 because of cycle elections and such. If he does all 4 years, he's, as we say in the street language, balls to the wall, because he is going out to be the agent of change. By the way, as you mentioned so rightly, there was a video that just surfaced the other day that I saw, I'm sure it was around before, with Barack Obama made a video detailing number of initiatives that he was going to push through Congress, and the person that he had, that he appointed to be in charge of the change of selling buildings and shrinking the size of the government was no other than his vice president, Joe Biden, because he said no one messes with Joe. Now, the reason I bring it up is because they couldn't get stuff done. Donald Trump is a different being. He is here to do things. We're recording today. I don't know when we're going to publish this. We're recording today on day 60 of Donald J. Trump's second term. And in the 60 days that he has been in office, he has done more to overturn what was previously around for decades, I think, than any president that I can even recall. And I've been around for many elections.
I agree. I agree. And, eventually it has to be done. Eventually it's like in the corporate world, either you correct your overhead yourself or else someone else will do it, right? It's either a lender or it's a third party that comes in and takes over your business. And, I think the United States is just beginning to look at its cost structure in a more sober manner. And I think the strategy seems to be pretty clear, is like, get it all on the table now, right away, quickly, engage in a lot of different activities simultaneously. And in part, it's because recognition that you may lose the House, you may lose the Senate in a couple of years. And so you really have a very narrow time frame. And I think that the thing that Trump has going for him, which is, very rare, right, is he had the presidency, he lost the presidency, now he has it again, but he's had the time to figure out the plan. And it's very, very chaotic feeling, but in my opinion, a lot of this is necessary. The federal government needs to look at where they deploy taxpayer money. I mean, that's common sense. It's inarguable. And everyone has their pet peeve, their pet projects, but I think there's a lot of progress that'll come out of this.
So I want to throw another C word that you used, and then another T I just realized. And the C is common sense. So you, as a owner of businesses, which you assembled a team, that's the other T. So we have Trump, Tariffs, Tesla, and team. You need to have a team that's running the enterprise that you acquire and make it the most efficient it can be, not just to maximize profit, because that is by definition necessary, but to maximize longevity. You want a business that is going to be around for decades or whenever it can be, and to serve its mission. So as you pointed out, if in fact the federal government does not clean house now, we are in, to be very blunt, a unenviable position of going potentially broke. Now, we can't go broke. It's the United States government. However, the terrible fact is that the interest payment on the debt is such that that's cost us more than we do for our defense. So when that gets out of whack, it's not just, gee, that's not good. That is a telltale sign of decline. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, what happens is that governments don't go broke, but they do. They what happens is that investors no longer will lend them money, or they'll no longer lend them money at attractive rates, and that's when you have interest rate spikes. When I started my career, over 40 years ago, the prime lending rate that the banks would lend at was over 20%, right? And unemployment was 10%. Today, unemployment, I think, is around 3. And it was a very difficult time for anyone to start a business or to finance a business or to grow a business, because the access to capital was very limited. Now, the stock market, when I started my career, the stock market was Dow Jones Industrial Average was at 750. Today, I think it's 41,000.
Wait a minute. I need to pause.
I should actually look it up. I
Right.
don't know exactly where it is today, but anyway.
Put it this way. Let's say it was under 1,000 when you started,
Yes.
and now it's at 41,000.
Right.
And the numbers are mind-boggling, because to think like that, in other words, a 41 or more time increase in valuation.
Value.
It's hard to understand that and get your arms around it, simply because the numbers are now astronomical, where people used to speak in hundreds of millions, thank God, or maybe in a billion or two. Now people speak in the T word, another T word, trillions.
Right. Trillions.
Okay,
Right.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. Everybody's loving this. I mean, got a lot of notes and such. We're going to go to a quick break. We have sponsors that we would not have on if we didn't think they're worthy of your time and attention. You want to hear more, Peter, I know. We'll be right back to this brief message. Don't go away.
Hello, skincare connoisseurs. If you think you have tried everything in skincare, you are going to love what I am about to tell you. I'm pharmacist Benjamin I. Fuchs. I'm a dermatology pharmacist. And what I've discovered in my compounding pharmacy after decades of working with patients with skin traumas and skin diseases is the missing link in skincare is topical essential nutrition. And because of this missing link, we're not maximizing the potential of topical skincare. We're leaving skin beauty and skin health on the table. And that's why I formulated my Truth Treatments. Listen, the skin's an organ. It needs and wants and craves nutrients, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, and plant-derived minerals, and now it can get them in super high concentrations in my Truth Treatments. Originally formulated for dermatologists and their patients, now they're available to you. Check them out today at truthtreatments.com, and I know you are going to love the truth.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Maybe good-looking, so always looking for and finding the good. We found good in abundance. Our cup runneth over with good. His name is Peter Nolan. I am honored to call him friend. He is a master of making money in the most positive sense. In other words, having businesses that know how to function well and grow, and therefore employ more people, do more business, give more service to community, et cetera, et cetera. And now we're talking about trying to do the same thing for this behemoth called the United States federal government. So we've been talking about thus far what we're calling now the 3 T's, maybe the 4 T's, Trump, tariffs, Tesla, and team. I want to ask you to speak about tariffs, if you be so kind, Peter, because it is, first of all, the buzzword that everybody is talking about. And I personally am nervous because every time it seems in our history that they've been tried, they have not been producing positive results. And at the same time, I am in awe of the team that Mr. Trump has put together. The people that are heading up certain agencies, forget what you think about, RFK Jr. and things like that, but the people working for Interior and Howard Lutnick and management and everybody in this is a stellar group of people. Am I correct?
Yeah, no, I mean, I am generally a free trade individual. And I think that the lower the barriers to trade, the better on so many different dimensions, including, I think the world gets along better the more we trade with each other, the more that commerce makes us interact with each other. And I think that has occurred over the years, and I think it is a positive outcome. It's my understanding that there are a number of non-reciprocal trade barriers that exist between the United States and other countries. In other words, other countries are putting tariffs and limitations on our ability to do business in their country, where we do not have reciprocal issues with their businesses, and that needs to be addressed. So I see this all. I see that I'll make a prediction that in this time next year, the trade noise will be, near zero. That I think what they're trying, I have no inside knowledge at all, but I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to force the issue on a number of different countries where they have punitive trade barriers to our products, our goods and services, and we have no barrier to theirs. And they're trying to level the playing field. And then, of course, with places like Mexico, there was a different issue where trade is extraordinarily important with the United States and Mexico, but there was issues with drug importation and immigration issues, and I think they're using that as a leverage. So I see this as could be wrong, but I see this as a relatively short duration issue.
First of all, I'm very glad to hear this. It heartens me. I am of the same opinion in my reading, and I read voraciously when it comes to American history and such, is that, yes, this is at this particular juncture, a positive weapon if it's done well. Now, obviously, there will always be mistakes being made. However, as you just mentioned, I'll give a classic example. If someone in Germany wants to buy a Mustang car from America, they're going to pay, I think it's upwards of 300% over the cost of the automobile. So the car sells, pick a number, $30,000 here, it's going to cost $90,000 if you want to drive it in Germany. Whereas German cars pay virtually nothing when they're imported in the United States. And I think those kinds of disparities are what Mr. Trump and his team are addressing, as you said, to find some mechanism so that the reciprocity becomes less onerous on us and benefits over everybody.
Right.
It's a wonderful thing. And again,
it's amazing. It's amazing how we got to this place. It just shows you how the United States has been very complacent about issues like trade. And so again, I can't remember the phrase you used, Barry, but I think this administration is trying to crash the boards, if you will. They're trying to do everything at once. And to some degree that makes sense, because you don't know how long you're going to have control of the House and Senate. And you do have inertia coming out of any election. And any president who wins an election always claims they have a mandate. So you're going to claim you have a mandate. And even your own party's going to be more cooperative during the early days of an administration than the latter days of an administration. So, I think this is we'll look back and this will be, again, can it blow up? Can bad things happen? Yes. But I think this is going to be a relatively short duration controversy.
As I said, I'm glad to hear it, not just because I want to hear it, because I appreciate you. You have your pulse on businesses that you own. I mean, you're involved in one business, I'm not speaking out of school, that runs the concessions in national parks, or at least 50 or 60 national parks. So you're actually very close to what happens in the administration, because
I'm going to, no, we're not close. We really don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We run the concessions at various government-owned parks, the most prominent of which are the national parks, and we also do it for the Forest Service. But that's a very agency-specific relationship, and doesn't necessarily mean that we talk to people in the administration and we know what's going on in the administration. We've had this business through a number of different administrations, and we work hard to stay out of the politics in that business.
Okay, fair enough. So let's go again in the different T's that we've enumerated. And you mentioned one, Tesla, which now, unfortunately, and I say it because I love this country, unfortunately, Elon Musk has put himself, and Donald Trump has allowed him to put himself and urged him to put himself into the crosshairs of this chaotic change in something called DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. And unlike other administrations, by the way, Bill Clinton, who was trying to do something with his vice president, Al Gore, and Barack Obama trying to do something with his vice president, Joe Biden, these guys are serious. I mean, serious to the point where enumerating issues, taking the bull by the horns and throwing it down, slaughtering it. And as you know, it all depends whose bull is getting slaughtered and caring, right? Whose cow is being offered up.
Ox is getting gored.
Whose ox is getting gored, right? So the interesting dilemma is that the former poster boy for the liberal establishment, wow, we got clean energy cars. And just like 100 years ago, isn't it interesting, Peter? 100 years ago, the wealthiest man in the world was a man named Henry Ford. He became the wealthiest man in the world because of automobiles. Fast forward 100 years, the wealthiest man in the world is that way because of automobiles. No engine as per se, electricity and such like that. And now he went from poster child, where everybody was applauding him, to being the target. And we're not talking about, gee, he's not nice. We're talking, unfortunately, at this very moment, that there are, how should we say it, conspirators promoting other people to go out and cause real harm. So let's talk a little bit about what you see, because I think you've already mentioned you think it's going to be a beneficial situation. But we are in chaos at the moment, because the left is rising up and saying, we're not going quietly into that dark night.
Yeah, you're right, but I think it's a small percentage of the left, right? It's the very radical woke left that is having a tantrum right now, and they've decided to do things like even blow up Teslas. And in politics, you're always going to have that tension between the two parties and the two ends of the political spectrum. And I think that I think Elon Musk is a brilliant, needless to say, he's a brilliant man, and I think he's a great patriot, and he's He doesn't need this. You know, people that think he's doing it because he has some sort of economic benefit are delusional. They're
Right.
truly delusional. They have no idea what they're talking about. I think he does this because he thinks it's his patriotic duty. And he also happens to be an individual with tremendous bandwidth, you know, and look what's going on. You know, he has Twitter, he has SpaceX, he has Tesla, he has a number of other businesses, a solar business, and a tunnel boring business. So this is a once in a generation entrepreneur that the likes of which this country hasn't seen. My state of California actually chased them out of California when they tried to operate during COVID. You know, they were making Teslas. They still do. They make Teslas in Fremont, California, and the state came after him during the COVID period. And there's a number of politicians that told him he should leave the state, so he did. But I think his intentions are good, and I think that applying more private sector accountability to the public sector is long, long, long overdue.
What a great line. That's exactly the focus, isn't it? That's what we're doing. We're applying private sector principles to the public sector. And the public sector is squealing because, unfortunately, it used to be called, and it's still called pork, and the pig is squealing. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you added another T, tantrum. So the left is, there goes a tantrum. I'm going to bring up something that I find very fun. I heard a brief interview. His name is Doug Borham. He was the former governor of the state of North Dakota, and articulate, capable, pleasant fellow. And he is now the Secretary of the Interior.
Birnbaum, I think it is.
Okay. And so he spoke about the four babies. So the four babies are, again, he's making this some tongue in cheek, but these are all been used. So it's drill, baby, drill, map, baby, map, mine, baby, mine, build, baby, build. So they're all using the same idea. So let's just talk about the first one, which is drill, baby, drill, because Mr. Trump has said, and doesn't want to just say it, he wants it to be, again, that not only is the United States of America preeminent in energy and therefore not codependent on any other country, we are the main producer of energy efficiency in the world, whether it be oil and gas, liquefied natural gas, hopefully SNRs, small nuclear reactors. And so I want to get your opinion on the first part. Drill, baby, drill.
Well, you know, I think that, look, you know, the state of California, for example, imports oil from foreign countries. And in fact, it could be, if they use their own resources, the state of California could be completely energy independent, and we're not. I think that what you want to do is, and you know, Germany is dealing with that because they basically have a pipeline from Russia, and all of a sudden they find themselves at odds with the Russians, and then oil becomes a political weapon. So I think that as far as national security is concerned, it's important that this country be energy independent. I agree with you. I think small scale nuclear is the answer. We have, you know, tremendous electrical power needs that are going to do nothing but explode. You have the advent of artificial intelligence that is just a massive user of electricity. And I think that the cleanest solution to providing that energy is going to be nuclear. And for all sorts of political reasons over the years, the United States and other countries have been cutting their nuclear. You know, California is in the process of closing down its nuclear generating capability. But they claim to be wanting, you know, I've always found it a complete conflict to say, I'm in favor of clean energy, I'm in favor of carbon reduction, but I also am not in favor of nuclear because it, you know, it literally is the cleanest energy possible. I guess maybe hydroelectric is cleaner, you know, if you use water. But I think that we'll see how much they get done. We'll see how much drilling happens, but I think it's a big change from the last administration, which was very anti-oil, anti-hydrocarbons.
Well, the ability to be not just energy independent as a country, a net producer, and to be the leader in SNR. And I'll go on a limb, make a prediction. I think that the next person who runs for governor of California, whether it's a man or a woman, will have as part of their platform to put in two major changes. One is SNRs, wherever possible, 24 of them, and desalination.
I'd bet you $1 on that one. I'm not sure. California is a very liberal state. You know, I mean, I don't know. You think Kamala Harris, if she runs for governor, is going to?
No, not her. The other one, her opponent.
Oh, her opponent. Her
Right.
opponent, maybe. I
Yeah.
agree with that. But
Yes.
I think
No.
I'm not sure whoever becomes the next governor is going to be embracing nuclear reactors.
Well, okay, we're getting really into the weeds for the rest of the world. If I had the ability, I would urge Rick Caruso to pick up the mantle and run with it and have that as part of his platform. But that's
he seems to be interested. He
should be. And if you know him, I would urge you to whisper in his ear and say, hey, even my friend Barry Shore says, put SNRs and desalination on your platform. You might even get some liberals because it's not only clean, it's safe. And it's wonderful. And we need water. I mean, I'm speaking as a former Californian. Water is so precious.
Yes, it is.
And that goes with map, maybe map, and then mine, baby mine. So one of the interesting things that the Secretary of Interior brought up was about the massive amount of federal lands that we have. And I just noticed, before we ask Peter about mine, baby mine, I'm going to go to a quick break. Again, we'll be right back with Peter, and because this is just so important to everybody's benefit. So we'll be right back with this brief message. Don't go away.
What if you could shop at your favorite local stores, swipe your current credit card and get extra cashback rewards? And what if you could also have donations sent to your favorite cause at no extra cost to you? What if this amazing program was absolutely free and very simple to set up? Well, What If is here. Welcome to Einstein Cares, where your everyday shopping gives you and your favorite cause extra money. It's fast, it's easy, and effortless.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. Maybe good-looking, so I was looking for and finding the good. We found good in abundance. Peter Nolan on the economy. Peter, as I told you, my hero. He is the consummate business person because he enables businesses to grow and to bring in teams to make sure that they're there, that helps everyone win. That's the genius of the private sector. And now, as he said so eloquently, be able to apply the principles of the private sector into the public sector, that means we can actually reshape this enormous bureaucracy that is wasting money by the trillions, bring about a generation that can actually live with the bureaucracy and move it forward. And the third is that he's happily married for 30 plus years and with a family. So he understands that he wants to have a country that is great for his children, his grandchildren, and generations to come. So Peter, I just left you. We were talking about the four babies. We talked about drill, baby, drill. Let's talk about mine, baby, mine, and map, baby, map. As I said, the Secretary of the Interior said, some astronomical number of millions of acres that the federal government owns that, as he says, has not been accurately mapped. And according to his back of the napkin calculations, our mining reserves, and he's not talking about gold and silver, everything, the things that are matter, and the copper right now is a big issue, that our assets are 3 times our current budget deficit. So if we're down 36 trillion, another T, he says our assets are about 100 trillion. And it's incumbent upon us to be able to bring them into our country in the right way so that everybody, the whole world benefits. So I'm speaking to you. Wax eloquent, Mr. Nolan.
Well, Barry, what's the question?
The question is, what do we do about mapping and utilizing federal lands? Because in past Democratic administrations, that was called verboten.
Right. And it's still, look, we run the concessions at certain parks that are, every park we run the concessions at are government owned. So you have federal, right? You have National Park Service, you have the Forest Service, which is the Department of Agriculture that runs the campsites. You have states, you have cities, you have water districts, you have all sorts of bay authorities, et cetera. There's just and then you have the Bureau of Land Management, the Department of Defense. I'm sure there's others I don't know, but this country has a huge endowment, if you will, of public lands that are owned by the government. And but it's very controversial, what to do with it. I've heard people discuss the concept of and when I say sell, I don't mean sell, but selling or having wealthy individuals endow national parks so that they know they're sustainable. I think that it is going to be difficult to take a lot of this public land and see it sold. I just don't see that happening, to be honest. I think that's just politically too tough. You notice during the shutdown that one of the first, to have the face of a potential shutdown or the face of a potential budget cut or layoff, they usually show national park workers. Right, because I think it's a very, it's probably the most popular thing that the federal government does is run these national parks.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you agree with it or not, I think it's very popular. They're very popular with the public, and the parks serve everyone. So it's not just the wealthy or even the middle class. It's literally everyone. But I'm sure in that portfolio of various assets that different agencies own, there's an opportunity. And I think that, whether it is extracting certain minerals for use, mining contracts, et cetera, I think that this government's going to be much more open to that than we've seen in the past. We're trying to do everything possible to make sure the parks are open and operating properly. And there's, if there's disruptions with employees, we're trying to figure out how to be helpful and fill the breach. That would be like, people taking tickets at admission gates and stuff like that, that kind of stuff. Our business is really concessions. It's if there's a hotel, we run the hotel. If there's a restaurant, we run the restaurant, a gift shop, that kind of stuff. We don't run the parks per se. We run the concessions.
Okay, good to hear. And I'm, by the way, I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that the head of the Department of Interior was speaking about leasing land, never selling it to anybody.
Right.
And again, using Alaska as an example, no Democratic administration would even consider drilling for oil in Alaska. And now not only are they considering it, they're beginning to go out and get bids and such, because the tracts are so large and the potential for energy is so great. And as Mr. Trump has said many times, when you lower the cost of energy, everybody wins.
Right.
And it's a very important aspect. We only have a few more minutes. I want to speak about something that's near and dear to your heart and get your insights and such, because today, literally today, March 20th, I don't know when we'll be posting this, but March 20th, day number 60 in his administration, he signed an executive order, historic, that for 40 years, at least Republican administrations have been trying to do, which is to close down the federal Department of Education. And let's be blunt, education is the heart and the soul of what America is about. Because without an educated populace, you don't have a world-leading entity. And you and your wife, thank God, are very tied to education, especially newborns and up to the age of 5 or 10, where most of the development happens very quickly. So bringing this back to the states, not in the federal control. Now, let's say California will have control and Arkansas will have control, et cetera, et cetera. Do you have a particular sense of what that means vis-a-vis public education?
I really don't. I think in general, conceptually, pushing responsibility down to the states is a good thing. I don't really know what the Department of Education does. Maybe you do, Barry.
I can only tell you what I've read.
They do administer student loans.
Yes,
which have become
very
political.
Yeah, for most of what happens at the Department of Education is in the world of administration. It is not education. And unfortunately, as a society, we are failing our students. And as a result, our students are failing. They cannot read, write, compute. And in terms of maintaining status as the leading world power for democracy, that's not a good recipe. Am I right on that?
No, absolutely.
Absolutely. That doesn't compute. So the ability to bring it back in the states, and I think what's going to happen is what I've been seeing is that the federal government allocates some enormous amount of money per student. I think it's upwards of $30,000 plus minus. That will now be able, part of it will be able to allocate it to parents so that parents can choose which schools they want to send their children to.
Well, that would have to be allocated to the state, and the state decides they're going to allow some sort of voucher program, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So put it this way, it's a big shakeup. It's going to cause chaos. There'll be gnashing of teeth and twisted pearls and hugging, and it will, put it this way, for 40 years, we've not been doing well. So you can, like you said, you want to apply private sector principles into the public sector. Well, when something doesn't work well for a period of time, you're either out of business, sold, bankrupt, something's happening. It doesn't go on for 40 years like that. So now the government.
Well, at some point you have to try something different.
Right. Well, that's what
there has to be a willingness to try.
Well, that's, I think, something that's we'll go back to our T's. And I think we're going to end on that high note. The last T will be try. And whenever people try something that's different or new, let's be blunt, change in the business world is what I was always taught. Change is great. You go first.
What's that?
Change. Everybody says, yeah, change. I like that. Change is great. You go first, and then I'll see what's going. I'll take a look at it.
Right.
Who wants to be first, right?
Right.
So,
well, sometimes you want to be first. Sometimes you want to be a fast follower of something that works. Let the other guy figure out if it works or not. There's arguments for both, and it really depends on the situation.
Well, this has been, I got to say, I'm sorry. I'm actually loath to say the words I'm about to say to you. And I have a couple more things I wanted to ask you. However, we are coming to a close in our time together. And again, I'm just so humbled and honored that you're making time to do this with us and such. So I have 3 quick questions for you, Peter Nolan. Are you ready?
Yes.
Number 1, will you come back again?
Only for you, Barry.
Thank you. Number 2, Peter Nolan, 48 seconds only to answer this question. What is your most fervent desire?
Well, I always answer the same answer: health and happiness of my family. But I would say the same thing for my country.
Oh, that's a very big addition. There is an opportunity here. There's a new wave of optimism that is seeming to be flowing in. I can smell it all the way here in Henderson, Nevada, in the middle of the desert. So it's something interesting. And number 3, may I give you a hug in front of 513,722 people around the world?
Sure, Barry. Go ahead.
Thank you. And remember, hug stands for heartfelt, unlimited giving. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Remember, you're listening to The Joy of Living with wonderful Peter Nolan and Barry Shore, your host, the ambassador of joy. We urge you, please share this with 5 people. If you want to do it 50 or 100, that's great, but at least 5 so we can touch millions of people around the globe. And follow us and love us on Spotify and Apple. And remember, this is all about you. Peter's a great guy. Barry's a fabulous fellow. It's about you being the best you possible. You're the best you make the world a better place. Build more bridges of harmony, create more joy, happiness, peace, and love. Follow the 3 fundamentals of life, and you'll be happier, healthier, and wealthier. Remember, they are life. Your life is purpose. Number 2, go mad. Go make a difference. And number 3, unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms like WWW. What a wonderful world, as Peter just said, for yourself, for your country, and for the world at large. And smile, seeing miracles in life every day. As my 8-year-old niece says, seeing miracles in everyday life. Create the kind of world you want to live in, because you can do that. Causing rethinking, listen to Peter, rethinking, enabling all to excel. Cause a shift in your perspective. Keep that F in place so the other stuff happens. And internalize, utilize, and leverage the 6 most important words you'll ever learn. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Use 4-letter words like love, hope, pray, play, swim, grow, free, gift, and teach the world to F you. Double N. And you do that and put a twinkle in your eye and a smile on your face after the show. You say to everybody, F you, capital N, capital N. Say, where'd you get that? I listened to Barry Shore and Joy of Living. He got a Peter Nolan. And you know what I want? I'm going to tell you some things I learned. You do that, you make the world a better place. Use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day. For the rest of your life, you'll be happier, healthy, and wealthier as well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to Peter. And from Peter and Barry, a blessing. Go forth. Live exuberantly. Spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference. Peter, don't go away.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Joy of Living podcast. Now that's another step towards your healthier, happier, and wealthier life. Never hesitate to do good in the world, no matter what the situation. Join us for another upbeat discussion next time at barryshore.com. And be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to the show to get more conversations like this. And remember to share it with your family and friends too. See you on the next episode.